Those feelings, those impulses, those dark urges are never something you can graduate from. You cannot be like high vibrational all the time. And nobody wants to admit that the depths of darkness exist within them. They're looking at serial killers and perverts and they're thinking, I could never do that. How could they do that? They're so horrible. We all have the potential to do despicable things and to hurt other people. And it's your own existence is what you have to grapple with while you're here on planet Earth. As a Scorpio, I've pretty much always been heavy on the dark side. When I first started my personal development journey, I kind of felt like I had to be completely on the opposite side of the spectrum. This high vibe energy, flower child, always love and light. It's actually really funny because just before that, I was totally goth. Everything, my whole aesthetic and my personality, like I was pretty depressed, honestly. My friend had committed suicide and I was like not dealing with the grief at all. And I think I became really attracted to the goth and alternative subcultures during the pandemic because the music validated where I was. I had this sabotaging personality and I love to just put myself through hell. Like I honestly had low self-worth, and when I started getting into spirituality and self-improvement, I had to accept that that's not good. And there's certain aspects of me that I had to let go of in order to heal, or at least to discover meaning and purpose again. Since I've gone through the whole journey of like self-improvement and like awakening and all that shit, I understand now that what I think about, I bring about. I understand that like to manifest, you have to stay in vibrational alignment with your desires. I've stopped moping around and feeling sorry for myself. Because obviously that's not the way to get what you want in life. Like you can't play the victim, and so like you have to take ownership. And so I learned how to take accountability of my own life. I'm realizing now that it's really not that black and white. I think there's a really big problem among self-improvement junkies and like new age spiritual people. There's this subtle undertone that negative emotions you should like never express. And I understand like being really sensitive to low vibes, especially if you grew up in a very negative home, because like obviously nobody wants to be a downer. When I was working in high school, there was this kid that was coming in on my boundaries and I had to like get firm with him, and it made the whole like environment really awkward. And I think that that's kind of what we're afraid of, our emotions affecting other people. But everything has a purpose, and I don't think those emotions, anger, sadness, fear, are to be like shunned or run away from, because there's a difference between something being bad and something just being uncomfortable. Because there's a very big difference between being firm, setting boundaries, expressing how you feel, and being real, and just being an asshole. You can't have this mindset that like darkness is evil, because those are two different meanings that kind of always get conflated. And I try to always remind myself that like darkness came first. In the Bible, in Genesis, before anything there was darkness, and God said let there be light. And so darkness, it's always like the first iteration of anything. And so the hard stuff is going to come first in life, the struggles, the awkward moments, the discomfort, and any type of transformation that you're undertaking. As time passes, you get more comfortable, and that's when you start to master the human experience. You start to get better at what you're doing. You start to hit your stride, and things just kind of work out. Always remember that like darkness is on the light spectrum. Without darkness there is no light, and so you kind of have to hold space for whatever you're feeling unapologetically and without judgment. You're allowed to have mood swings, you're allowed to have bad days, you're allowed to get upset and yell and cry and like do whatever you need to do to process your emotions, as long as you're not like blaming somebody else for them. A lot of us have this like black and white thinking where we have a hard time finding the middle ground between total suppression of our emotions and total dysregulation and projection. A lot of these enlightened folks, they always forget the whole reason we came to the human experience, which was to fucking experience shit. Those feelings, those impulses, those dark urges are never something you can graduate from. You cannot be like high vibrational all the time. It's more important to focus on alchemy, that transition between the highs and the lows, light and darkness, as opposed to trying to completely rid yourself of either one. People are terrified of their own nature. They're terrified of the fact that God created both evil and good. They always blame Satan. God invented the devil. Why did God do that? No one's asking those questions. And nobody wants to admit that the depths of darkness exist within them. They're looking at serial killers and perverts and they're thinking, I could never do that. How could they do that? They're so horrible. And I think that's why I really like Naruto and like just any superhero shit really, because I love how they go into the the villain's origin story and like what really made him start thinking the way he thinks, because it just forces you to confront the reality that we all have the potential to go that way. We all have the potential to do horrible, despicable things and to hurt other people. And it's like your own existence is what you have to grapple with while you're here on planet Earth. We all have our own reality and justify our behaviors based on our unique value system and the environment that we were brought up into. So it's really hard to like be black and white and to say this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad, because it's all relative. You know, at the end of the day, we are making a choice to live the life that we are living. We're making a choice to partake in what is aligned with our values and what is not. I feel like there's a lot of clarity that comes from going into the chaos and not being afraid to look at what's there and stare it in the face and say, okay, what is this trying to tell me? What should I be doing as a result of this? And how can I move forward by understanding it better? And I really encourage you to go into your darkness, at least in a controlled space, doing shadow work exercises or just like expressing your darkness through your art, because it's not healthy to like suppress your darkness. So I made a whole entire video here that you can check out about how I self-regulate, because one of the big things I learned about my darkness is it really is tied and tethered into my feminine energy. Like when I feel the shittiest I've ever felt, it's because I'm emotionally dysregulated. I have been feeding my feminine to the point of collapse, like eating too much comfort food, like doing what you feel like doing and not getting your work done. You start to get pent up. You start to feel gross, you know, and you just need to like cycle through it. And some people, like, you know, my mom, she'll get pent up, but then she'll have like a meltdown. I don't do that. I do my best to like, if I'm getting pent up, to do my self-regulating protocol so that I'm not destroying everything in my path and pulling people into my chaos with me. I really don't want to do that. So that's what I would recommend that you do if you are really emotionally dysregulated. You're feeling yourself to be highly reactive, super stressed out, PMSing, or whenever you're just going through those tumultuous times, creating a self-regulating protocol that combines the head with the body. So you're working through what you're feeling, but you're also like releasing it through like breath work, exercise, and just like getting yourself back to baseline. Stop being ashamed of your own nature. I feel like a lot of us who have self-worth issues or struggle to hold space for who we are fully, we're like tiptoeing around our own design because it scares us a little bit. Like a lot of us are not really sure what we are and what we're capable of, you know. And I think when we're pushed to our limits, we become something that we don't want to be. Like it was like a month ago, but I became somebody that I did not want to be. And I talked to my friend in a way that I just did not want to talk to them. And like it was really embarrassing and really hard for me. I was really ashamed for the past few weeks because of it. And I had to accept it. Like there are ways out of that. You just simply apologize. You simply show up. You simply take accountability for who you were or who you became in that moment. And you say, look, like I'm not proud of how I acted. And I'm really sorry. And I hope you can forgive me or whatever. You know, you just own your shit. You own your darkness and your light. And you do the right thing regardless. Having a moment and then being so ashamed that you just act like it didn't happen. Don't do that, because that's what really shitty people do. That's what villains actually do. And they just let that grief, that anger, that frustration just build up and become calloused inside of them. And you can literally take that shame away by just having values and showing up a certain way all the time and being consistent with the conduct that you believe in. Basically, we all have a capacity to destroy ourselves and other people. And I think you just have to learn how to express that darkness, your anger, your fear, your sadness, that grief, that chaos, those in-between emotions, whatever it is you're feeling. Put that shit into your art, alchemize that shit, turn it into fuel, and just level the fuck up.